Hello, everybody. I'm going to get started with my ATA analysis here for Module 2. The article that I have chosen for this is Preparing for a Crisis, which is dealing with like crisis communication and those kind of, and the article kind of talks about how there was a situation that happened a couple years ago within a Hollywood video where there were 4 lives that were lost, and one of them was a senior in high school. So it was talking a lot about like the critical communication that went out to everybody that was affected by the tragedy that happened. So the thesis that I kind of got from it was that you should be implementing a critical response team within your school district that will lower the level of trauma after a tragedy within the school district. So really taking into account the importance of having this response team and having them well trained in a lot of different areas within your school district and outside of your school district in order to fully be ready for a situation like this instead of having to get ready while the situation is going on and kind of having it snowball out of control. So it's important to have this critical response team. Some within your school district, like I said, you will have your principals, administrators, teachers, the benefits like mental health counselors, maybe people that work within the school district, such as janitors, nurses, all different kinds of people to give all different kind of perspectives in order to benefit everybody out of the situation and have it be as stress-free as possible. But also outside of your school district, such as like, police officers, people that work within therapy, like therapists could also partake in this as well. And having just a lot of different stakeholders from all different areas of your community that you serve, I think can really be a big part in benefiting within your whole entire school district for those situations when they come up. A couple assumptions that I did find. One was how the article assumes that all school districts kind of have appropriate funds to back a critical response team. In the article, the high school that they're talking about is a very large one, which they could have had that potential funding for the critical response team, but not everybody has that opportunity right there. So it's important to highlight that. I think the article assumes that. Also that all school districts work very closely with the communities in which they serve. Some school districts do it a lot better than others. And I think that's important to highlight because with working with your community, it's really important to be able to have a very strong relationship with them in order to benefit your students and make them feel connected to their community and your family as a whole. And the people that you're around are really backed by the school district as well. And some schools do a really good job with building those relationships, and some are not as well. So I think the article kind of talks about how every school district works very closely with the communities in which they serve, which that may not always be the case. And also the article doesn't give clear procedures on how the critical response team can seek counseling following a traumatic training. It does briefly mention it, but I think it's important to have more often and be more, have that more to the attention of in this article, because the people on the critical response team are also human, and they're going to, as they train for these, traumatic events, the training can be traumatic for them as well. So it's kind of taking a step back to see how we can better improve that system. I think can be a great opportunity to benefit everybody. But from the human capital leaders and educational professional standards, here's a couple things that I took away that really have the application to the practitioners here is performing analysis to inform the strategic planning process, align department strategic plans with the organization's strategic plan, develop a communications plan, including goals, strategies, and tactics to ensure effective design implementation, crafting messages consistent with the brand that inform and resonate with stakeholders, enlist diverse groups to capture stakeholder voice and build buy-in, identify and leverage the right communications channels to reach each stakeholder group. 3.2.1, and to conduct a risk analysis to identify possible threats to the workplace. 3.2.2, establish policies and protocols that mitigate potential risk. 3.2.3 is manage risk incidents 4.1.1, collect feedback from internal and external customers to determine how they define value. And last but not least, 3.1.1 is apply knowledge of education law and regulations to ensure compliant practices in the organization. So there's a lot of different ways. I think they really talk about in this article how you can put your talk into practice and be prepared through these trainings. And there's a lot of different ways that you can do it, but it's going to be different for each situation also that arises when it comes to the critical response team and how and what situation happens and how we are prepared when it comes to communicating to the families, the students, peers, teachers, anyone that's affected. It's very important to find ways to best benefit everybody that's been traumatically affected in this situation, which is usually not great situations to be a part of. But there's a lot of different ways that this article I think really breaks down the importance of a critical response team.